Welcome to another episode of Talk to the Fedora, chatting about hard-hitting, honest entrepreneur wisdom that you can use to grow your small business. My name is Jared Goldsmith from eSAX Virtual Events, and today we're very pleased to be welcoming Michael Curran. Michael is the president of Great River Media. He joined the company in August 2010 when he helped acquire the Ottawa Business Journal. Previously, he was the regional manager in Eastern Ontario for Transcontinental Media, one of Canada's largest media companies. During his 20-plus years in the media business, Michael has acquired experience in all aspects of media, including news, digital, event production, sales, and marketing. Michael is a graduate of the Carleton University's School of Journalism and Communications and is a frequent commentator on Ottawa's business and technology scene. He's also chaired the selection committee for the Ottawa's prestigious 40 Under 40 Awards and the CEO of the Year Awards for over 20 years. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Michael,
hard hitting, eh?
Hard hitting. Let's get right to it. It's a pleasure to have you
3 times a week, so I was wondering if that was you're picking up on something. Maybe we'll share that.
We were mentioning earlier, it's so nice to interview you for a change instead of you being the MC and interviewing others.
So flip it, turning the tables on me.
Let's do it. So, Michael, let's talk in relation to your background.
Sure.
What would you suggest would resonate the most with your story?
I hope just one. Anyway, okay. So I'm from Ottawa. Have worked for most of my career here, with the exception of a couple expansion projects. Went to journalism school, as you suggested there, and graduated at kind of a weird time. Graduated, dare I say, 92. It was a time a little bit like today, in that there was a little bit of economic headwinds, and it was kind of the beginning of the end. I should be careful as I say this, of the newspaper industry being so dominant. So, of course, the newspaper industry is still here, and many great newspapers. I read the Globe and Mail, I read the Citizen all the time, read the Sun. So I'm not trying to put the newspaper industry down, but it's significant because I graduated and initially wanted to work on Parliament Hill in the Parliamentary Press Gallery, where I did spend a bunch of time during my university years. So I thought I'd be a political reporter for like the Globe and Mail or something like that.
Yeah.
And again, it was in 92, they were more likely to lay people off than hire people. So did well in university, but never got that political job. So I continued doing community reporting, which I had done for 4 years, working for an East End community newspaper. Did some work at the Orleans Star, and that's a little bit of the entrepreneurial story, because I couldn't find a job. So, as some entrepreneurs do, and I wasn't an entrepreneur then, I made a job by creating a newspaper, which was called the Weekly Journal. Created in 1995, and it was my first big business experience. It was a very positive one. I had a great business partner, Caroline Andrews. She was gone from Ottawa for a long time. She's back. She had a wonderful career in media. She's now working for Ingalls and Volkers in the real estate sector. A big departure from what she's done in the past.
Yeah.
Anyway, in 95, she and I decided to start an own newspaper, and we approached a number of business people and created a shareholder agreement, something I didn't know what it was, and effectively raised about $250,000, and then got a bank loan. So we had about $500,000, which was quite a bit of money in 92. And then we proceeded to make many stupid decisions from a business perspective. The good news was the newspaper, from an editorial perspective, was a success. In fact, it won a few big awards right off the bat, including, I think, one of Canada's placing the top 3 of large Canadian community newspapers, and won some other awards. But from a business perspective, and I think Caroline and I would do it very differently today, we went all in, like basically spent the $500,000 like that.
Yeah.
Did ramp up revenues. I think revenues after 2 years were in like the $550,000 range, $600,000 range.
So
But
what were you spending the money on, Michael? Was it like the press?
staff and computers and office space.
Yeah.
So like think about that today, right? So you're a brand new company. You have no clients. You're wishful that you can have some clients. You hire 10 full-time permanent people right off the bat,
Yeah.
like with benefit programs, full office, brand new Mac computers for everyone. Yikes, not the way to do it.
So, Michael, what was the need? What was one of the reasons, some of the other reasons why you decided to launch your own newspaper? Like,
Yeah,
what was the void you were filling?
it was a typical entrepreneurial need that where we could do it better, right? So there was so just to make sure the story is clear here, we were working for the Orleans Star and we launched a newspaper against the Orleans Star. So like we went from one to the other, and I don't want to be too harsh, but they were tight economic times, and this paper that was great, the Orleans Star, at one point just started cutting back and back and back on editorial resources, and made a whole bunch of decisions that we were staunchly opposed to.
Right.
And we did make it better. Like we launched a paper, and the community was like, "Wow, that's what a newspaper can be." So we did succeed. We were right that we could do it better. We were right there was a need for something bigger, and we brought those clients along. As I said, we went from one to almost, let's say, 600,000 in annual revenue.
Yeah.
After 2 years, but it was just the way we spent money, and we didn't understand. I think we're going to talk cash flow. We didn't understand cash flow, and like we really were absolute neophytes. We knew how to run a newspaper, but being a newspaper manager is dramatically different, as I learned from being a newspaper owner or a business owner, right?
Right.
You
Yeah,
can
that's the
manage a
business side.
business. Owning the business that's a different skill set.
Yeah, we're going to get into a little bit about that. Actually, why don't we start right now? Just because somebody's really good at somebody, they have the background, the knowledge, doesn't translate perfectly into having a successful business. What would be some of the skills, the tips that you would recommend people aspire to?
If they want to start a business and they
Yeah,
haven't been an entrepreneur before.
that's right. Like, it sounds like
The first one's really easy, and I say this like this one will leave my tongue if I'm ever in a situation where I'm talking to someone. Hire a good financial person.
Right.
like it is, I think, the perennial entrepreneur mistake where you've got an idea, you're motivated to execute it on it, and you're either going to throw yourself, like you kind of see two situations, right? Where you'll throw yourself in from a sales perspective and just be selling.
Getting clients, the business is good, it's going on great. Yeah.
But the problem with that is, as you might know, Jared, is you're selling. No one's billing and collecting the cash, right? Like seriously,
Yeah.
I see this. In fact, I know entrepreneurs that do this, right? So they're so focused on selling. It's like, yeah, but if you're booked, if you're not billing and collecting that cash and keeping up to date on your receivables and payables, and like
Yeah.
you're just walking towards a cliff. The other thing is you'll see someone, the other side, and you'd see this more in the technology sector, right? Where someone is so all in with their idea, all they want to do is innovate and develop the idea and not talk to customers, right? So in both those cases, a finance person will go, hello, what are you doing? You're heading to the cliff. You're going to fall over the cliff.
Two things come to mind. One, it's the concept of processes.
Yeah.
Like everything's
Oh,
got to
yeah.
be itemized. And
Yeah, as I've matured as a business owner and entrepreneur, I agree 100%. Like, and in fact, it's something we struggle with at OBJ, in part because we do so many things. It gets so complex to create processes for everything.
so, Michael, we were talking about the concept of processes and how important it is for people who might not have an understanding on the business side. What would you just suggest to help people with that?
Yeah. So first things, the more experience I have as a business owner and entrepreneur, the more I appreciate that process is one of those key ingredients that sometimes gets overlooked. If you're early in your entrepreneurial endeavor, you're all about chasing revenue
Right.
and iterating the product, and hopefully, as we were talking about, collecting some cash and staying solvent. But as you get into it, you realize that it's processes that will drive, organizational improvements and efficiencies and all that type of thing. The best book, I think, on this, and Ottawa does have at least one consultant on this, is called EOS, which stands for Entrepreneurial Organizational System. And it's a book. It's an entrepreneurial system, and it has a book. The book's very popular with a lot of entrepreneurs. It's called Traction. And it lays out, I think, like in an 11 or 12 point process, everything you should be thinking about in your businesses. At the beginning of using the book, they get you to do this self-administered test. And I suspect, including me, you go through the checklist and you're like, we fail, we fail, we fail, we fail, we fail, we fail, we fail. And that kind of gets you really organized, or sorry, it gets you really energized to start addressing, some of the shortcomings.
Right. The whole idea on, you talked about the importance of finances. You're starting, you need to have a good financial person to help keep on track. In relation to the processes, I talk to people once in a while and say, oh, I have to send invoices. I said, great. Isn't that why we're in business in the first place?
Yeah, it's not, and I think it should be the first person you invest in.
Right.
Because it allows you to do the other stuff to drive success, right? Whether you're a sales-oriented company or whether you're an innovation-oriented company, you need someone that has your back, that is running, the forecasts and processing invoices and AR and AP and payroll and tax submissions and all that type of stuff. You need someone doing that if you're going to have any chance of succeeding. So I almost think it should be, if not the first person you hire, and if it's not a hire, there's, you would know this, Jared, there's lots of people that do this on a contract basis in Ottawa. So you need to have this covered and secured. And I'm not simply talking about someone only to do the invoices and deposit the checks and that type of stuff. Someone is giving you feedback on a regular basis about how you're doing. I think that's absolutely essential. And I think many entrepreneurs fall short when it comes to that.
Right, right. Michael, what's changed in the terms of processes because of COVID?
Ooh, a ton. Well, I don't know if it's a lot has changed. Is it processes? I don't know if it's, we probably still have, I'm just thinking, for the most part at OBJ at least, the same processes we had at the pre-pandemic times. The exception would be on the event side when we had to start producing virtual events. All about virtual events, so the processes are different. You need to do, it's a different checklist. But I do think things have significantly changed because of the pandemic. We're still mostly work from home. We have some co-working space that we meet in. I think entrepreneurs, I'm drifting on this answer, by the way. I think entrepreneurs need to be really deliberate if you're a work from home predominant model of meeting your people face to face, whether it's one-on-one or it's in teams on a really regular basis. I think if you're not doing that, then your culture will erode. And, as some people have said, then from an employee perspective, it just becomes, working for this company A versus company B just means logging into this Zoom account or that Zoom account. And you can't let your culture erode to that extent, right?
Yeah, that's a really important point. The word culture. How does that play in a small business?
Well, in some ways it's easier, I think, because, culture doesn't always, but often emanates from the top. So the leader will set the tone in terms of culture, at least in a small company. So in that sense, if you've got a leader in a small company who cares about people, who's authentic, who can be a little bit vulnerable in terms of saying, I didn't do a not good enough job here, then I think that kind of permeates through the organization.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have said there's just a massive difference between having like 10 employees and whether it's 75 or 100. I've talked to some people in the tech sector. When people that are working for you are hiring people underneath them, and you're not interacting with that. So once you become like a 3-tier org chart or a 4-tier org chart,
Yeah.
Then culture needs to exist in a different way, right? It can partially be about the leader, but it quite equally needs to be about people driving, taking certain activities, and embracing certain values and principles to make sure that culture flourishes.
Right. And that speaks to the idea of, mission statement and mantra. And at what stage would you recommend that entrepreneurs create such a document? Here's why we exist. Here's our statement, our mission, our values.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something embarrassing. So, so I think OBJ specifically kind of had a mission that was pretty clear to people. You had a vision that was pretty clear for people. We had a set of values. I think we have a very strong team. We hire people with similar values to us, but we didn't formally have that written down for a long, 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 long time. We're 26 years old now. So we did refresh all of this about 1 or 2 years ago in the pandemic. So I think, one of the things that the pandemic did is it forced everyone to go back to basics and say, what are we about? What are we doing? What's our vision? What do we value? So on and so forth. So, I think it's good to do that off the top. But the trick when it comes to like mission, vision, values, maybe even strategy to some degree, is if it doesn't live, like if it's just a poster on the wall, that's what people say, right? If it's
Yeah.
just a poster in the kitchen, these are our values, it doesn't really mean anything, right? So I don't have a perfect answer for when a company. I think you should do it from the beginning, but also kind of acknowledge from the beginning too that revenue growth and profitability, you're just on a sprint, right, to get to those things if you're kind of a new entrepreneur or start a new organization. So it is often something that gets refined as companies mature, maybe is what I should say.
There's so many time commitments needed to start a business. It's everything under the sun. And how would you recommend a small business, maybe somebody starting up, focus on the time management skills? They might have a young family or a family
Yeah.
situation. Uh, they need X, Y, Z. How do they manage that, Michael?
I'm not the best person to ask. Anyone who knows me is probably laughing out loud that you've asked that question, just because, I just throw I work a lot. I work a lot of hours. If you know me, you probably know this, Jared. The best time to get a response from me via email is probably like 11:37 at night. So yeah, I'm not the best person. I should say though that my kids are grown now, right? So I did behave very differently, when I had young children, and and you must do so, right? So I think there's actually a little bit of a danger when your kids grow up and they don't need you to go to soccer practice and hockey practice and synchro and all that type of stuff, that your time frees up, and then you throw more hours. You let work occupy a lot of that time. By the way, I try to live a balanced life. I have a trainer, and I'm in a gym 3 times and spend time with my wife and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. I'm not a workaholic that's ignoring all other facets of my life. But
But
I
that is
don't
the
know.
case with a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I'm not the best person to answer that question.
Sure.
So it's just because. Yeah, I just throw a lot of time. I'm, one of the things I think is a hard worker. I think anyone that knows me, that works on a team with me, I don't think they'll ever say Mike didn't do his job or
Yeah.
Mike didn't pull his weight. I think there'd be a very small, chance of that. So so I'm not the best person when it comes to time management. I just,
But it's being productive. It's the productivity. Like if you know that you're a
yeah,
morning person, do the hardest stuff at the beginning, check emails
yep.
later. Little things like
Yeah, I'm not even good at that.
that.
But I tell you what, I am better at working. So just kind of mentally, I'm not really a list person either, but I am kind of continuously um, uh, doing kind of a scan of my brain, if I can put it that way, to see what is the most urgent thing and what is the most important thing I can be working on.
We were just talking about how do you manage your time with all of the conflicting priorities, running a business, having a family life. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't is the answer. So people that know me well will be laughing if that you asked me a time management question, because I tend just to crush problems or issues with time and hard work. So um, as I said, I'm not the best person.
Sure.
What I am getting a little bit better at is just prioritizing things. So I'm not a list person, so I don't like keep careful lists, but I
Yeah.
on paper or on a computer. I should. I've tried repeatedly and failed to do that. But I am good at following through with everything I need to. And I think I am getting better at just kind of scanning my thoughts and my priorities and saying, what's urgent and what's important. Um,
About that, because you have the opportunity to interview a lot of entrepreneurs, mostly tech, if I understand correctly, would you say that they or many of them have a 3 month plan, 6 month, year out plan? Is that something that's been important to you?
hmm. Well, we do. We could always be better with it, but one we were part of a big Canadian. You read in the bio, big Canadian media company called Transcontinental
Yeah.
way back when, and there's still people in the company that worked for them. One thing they were, and this we were in a small division, but the small division was $120 million with about 800 employees.
Right.
So they were really good at processes and budgeting. So they budgeted really well and they measured everything really well. So I think that that is carried on to OBJ. So we do have a very formal budgeting process, that is hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of data points that we plan in advance, that are scheduled in advance.
Yeah.
We have, as I kind of alluded to, kind of formally adopted a 3-year strategy. So we went through a process. We had some outside help too, which was very useful. So we're getting better at it. I don't think everyone has this though. I think there are many people, entrepreneurs, and I'm not talking about tech companies specifically, that just kind of go from day to day, week to week, month to month.
Yeah.
And maybe they've got a financial manager or bookkeeper giving them results, so they have kind of checked that box that I was talking about earlier, but they're not really sure where they're going from a vision perspective or a business evolution perspective. So I think it is something that more entrepreneurs need to pay attention to.
Yeah, this brings me to my next question. You mentioned the need for outside help developing strategic planning, where you want to be. How important has the concept of mentorship been to you?
Well, I'll use the word coaching. So I don't think I have a mentor, but I have like a lot of coaches. Like I don't even know. Like I got 3 or 4 coaches. I have one executive coach. So I am part of Tech Canada.
Yeah.
Have been part of Tech Canada for about 5 years. Tech Canada, if people don't know, is a peer mentorship and executive coaching. In the States, it's known as Vistage. It's a global type thing. In Ottawa, in fact, there are many phenomenal tech chairs. So the tech chair is the person that leads the group, and it
Mhm.
is a business for them. So just to get that clear, and it costs some money to be involved. But um, yeah, I can tell. I tell this to my coach, so she won't be surprised by this. I think my coach has changed my life in the past 5 years. So it's I mean that from a personal perspective, and a business perspective. So she's not the CFO of my business. She's not the chief strategist or that type of stuff. But we have very detailed discussions about issues, and she helps me come to decisions. Coaches
So
don't.
the concept of a coach to you, Michael, it was to bounce ideas off, to think differently, like
A coach is, I guess, a bunch of things here. First, a coach is someone who holds you accountable. So a coach is someone who, helps you identify priorities and shortcomings and then holds you accountable to addressing these things in kind of an organized, rational, expedient manner. So, my coach would have identified some issues years ago. She's kept those kind of in front of me, and we discuss them regularly. We discuss progress regularly. So I think she's she's been invaluable to me. And then there's lots of other coaches, financial coaches, tax experts. I've had a physical training coach for 10, 11, 12 years, something like that. So look, I think if you want to be someone who achieves, who wants to perform at a high level, then it is very valuable, at least for me, to constantly get feedback. And it's not like always a pat on the back, right? It's like you're not doing a good enough job here. And sometimes if you're an entrepreneur, especially like a solo entrepreneur or even a sole proprietorship, you're not getting that feedback, right? It's not like your employees necessarily will, in a constructive way, walk into your office, close the door, and say, let me give you an analysis on what I think is happening here.
Yeah, and I think that's a big issue because people think, mentorships, coaches, they just tell me what I want to hear. No, the good ones don't.
No, they don't. No, they have to challenge you. My goodness. It's just, I mean, it is the same like a physical coach, right? If you had a physical coach and you walked into a gym and you sat on the couch and did your email and got up and did a couple bicep curls and then said, see you later. I mean, I think any physical coach, training coach would say, like, what the hell?
Yeah. What, Michael, what about your thoughts on a small business who might not have a lot of extra cash lying around?
Who?
I can't afford a financial planner, a business coach.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
Well, then you have to go either advisory council or mentor then, right? So I think Ottawa is good at this. There's lots of experienced business people that are really willing to pay it forward. So I think these people exist. They likely exist in your industry often. So I think that's like particularly cool about Ottawa. And I'm not saying we're, absolutely unique in this, but there's often people that are working in the same business category, sector, whatever as you, that are willing to share lessons and give you feedback. So I think you can do that if you put your mind to it. I would think most people could find someone to provide them with advice or mentorship, or create a formal advisory board.
And one of my favorite subjects is how do you find people to complement your business? Is it networking, word of mouth, referrals, a phone book, a yellow page?
Well, you would know this. I think networking is a great idea. I mean, the fun thing about networking is, again, you're a master of this. You never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah.
So, first of all, appreciate that sometimes those are useful business relationships. Sometimes they're not. But isn't it fun just to get to meet, if it's business networking, business owners, business entrepreneurs? Isn't that just a fun thing? And there are things, and your podcast probably demonstrates it, there are issues that cut across all sectors, right? That are common to almost all entrepreneurs. So I think networking in your own sector, here's one thing that, that I would suggest, and it doesn't always exist. Often there are industry groups. So think of, in Ottawa, Building Owners and Managers Association, BOMA, Ottawa Construction Association, HR Professionals Association. We can go down and down. Those might be particularly useful because now it's random encounters with a group of people who quite literally probably have the exact same problems as you.
Sure. Yeah, but expanding that network, like I've always thought it's a wise idea to get involved with other organizations that might forward your career aspirations. If you want to stay in business,
Yeah.
the more people know of you, you know of them.
Yeah.
Like again, it all comes down to the networking angle.
Yeah. And, again, you just made me think of something that's, probably rule number one in networking, which is you better go in wanting to give, not take, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and it's absolutely the case. Like think of a Chamber of Commerce or Board of Trade. I've been involved with Chambers of Commerce, Board of Trade for almost 20, 30 years. These people that sign up and they pay the few $100s and they're like, I didn't get anything out of it. Well, what did you do? Did you go to any meetings? No. Did you reach out to your fellow chamber members? No.
yeah,
Well, how did you think you were going to get something back? You thought you were going to sign a check and they were magically going to, augment your business? Like,
yeah,
anyway. So I think you network, you have a genuine interest in people, you see if you can help them in some way, and then that creates a sense. Again, Jared, I'm talking to the, I'm preaching to the choir here. Um, then that creates a willingness for other people to help you.
yeah. I think this is such an important part. I mean, yeah, so I can talk to you all day about this stuff. I love it. I mean, I'm thinking of the audience, the small business entrepreneurs, the
Yeah,
people starting a business who are watching and listening to this. Just because you sign up for an organization, Chamber of Commerce, Board of Trade, okay, that's a
yeah,
good step. Go to the events.
yeah,
Show your face, get out there, connect with everybody you can. Not everybody's going to be your ideal client, sure. But when people develop that relationship with you, they might keep you in mind
yes.
going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to get active. You
Yeah.
got to network. Even better yet would be like join a committee or something,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like start working. So not only leave it kind of to happenstance of networking, form a committee, try to advance an issue,
Yeah.
and you'll typically then get to know people even at a deeper level,
Yeah.
possibly.
I want to touch on something you said, Michael, about, you sign up for an event, you show up a few times, you don't get any gigs out of it, you move on. And as an ambassador for all of the, well, prior to the Ottawa Board of Trade, the Chambers of
Yeah.
Commerce, I would see this all the time. And I would say, I don't see you at the events. Oh, I didn't get anything out of it. Well, again, going out there. And to me, it doesn't matter who the speaker is. It could be the
Yes.
janitor of City Hall speaking. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not there to hear the speaker. I'm there to interact.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's acknowledge that it's hard to put yourself out there. So,
Oh, yeah.
it's hard to walk into a room where you don't know people and try to integrate into the crowd. I think what we would also agree easily, Jared, is that, but the more you do it, the more you know people, the more you
Yeah.
know people, the easier it gets. So
Yeah.
again, I'll go back to I'm not like a gym nut, but I'll go back to the gym, like lift the barbell once, it's hard, lift it twice. It's, over a period of time, it's probably getting easier. So you just gotta, try again and things will get better. But it's not easy, particularly if you're not, an outgoing person.
Oh, it can be very intimidating. And a lot of entrepreneurs, tech or otherwise, might be very introverted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. Yes, you said, I have to MC all these events and that type of stuff. I That's not in my nature, right? I would rather be sitting in the audience in the last row, taking notes, or writing a news article or something like that. So it is something people need to push themselves, right? And this is an area sometimes people need to push themselves and experience some growth in this.
Michael, let's talk about some of the successes you're most proud of over your story, your history.
Hmm. That's a tough question.
Well, I mean, no doubt co-launching the Ottawa Business Journal was a huge,
Yeah.
huge change for the city.
Yeah. Yeah. And just on that point, so I was at OBJ in 99. It started in 95. So I was certainly very uh, pivotal in its growth and that type of stuff. I
Yeah.
didn't technically launch it. I have launched many projects inside of OBJ, but this is a tough, I guess I I'm not someone like who dwells on successes. I'm a little bit one of those entrepreneurs who achieves something and it's like next, right? Or you achieve something great, and we do this after events, for example. That was an awesome event. I think it was like 8 on 10, 9 on 10. Here's the 23 things I think we could have done better. Like,
Right. Right.
that's, I think entrepreneurs just do that. But I guess I am happy that, OBJ's reached 25 years, 26 years now. I think we play an important role in the community. Sometimes I say I feel like we're a little bit of the glue that keeps things connected. And by that, I mean more sectors, so construction exists in itself, and real estate and tech and tourism. And we try to keep everything together and provide kind of a broader view. So
Right.
I think I'm definitely proud of that. I'm proud of some things within OBJ. I'm proud of the 40 under 40. It also reached 25 years, and I'm proud of the people we've selected and their impact on the city. So that's been a source of pride for sure.
I mean, there's
I'm
no
proud
doubt
of
that,
I'm proud. I'll just say this one quickly. I'm proud of the team we've built. So
yeah,
I do enjoy working with talented people. So I think I'm proud of them.
yeah, people first. That's what builds businesses. Absolutely. There's no doubt that the Ottawa Business Journal, among some of your other ventures, have radically changed the way that people do business around the city. Congratulations
Thank
with
you.
all that, Michael. And I have to note that prior to the pandemic, I understand that the Ottawa Business Journal was a strong advocate for virtual, or rather, online.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about the importance of that? Like, I know that you have what, hundreds of thousands of hits a month on your
Yeah.
website. It's
Yeah, I think when I came into OBJ in 99, so remember that the internet kind of started in 95, was gathering steam in 96, 97,
Mhm.
Netscape, Navigator, and Google only started becoming kind of a thing. And
Yeah,
I don't know, like 99, 2000. Anyway, we've always been fairly digital first. So, or at least that we've always considered ourselves, it's kind of vernacular these days to be a multi-platform company. So, we don't exist in one platform. And that was like embedded in OBJ when it started in 95, even before me, right? So just the events or the awards are an example of that. They didn't start OBJ in 95 and say, it's a newspaper. They said it's a newspaper, and it's an awards event, and it's a conference, and it's a book of lists thing. And so it was always very multi-platform. I guess right now we're going through our biggest digital maturity project, definitely in 5 to 10 years. So we are kind of reimagining the company um, based on some really good lessons learned from a lot of U.S. business journals. So I'm connected with a lot of U.S. business journal publishers. Meet
yeah,
with them at least a couple times a year. So this concept of membership, this concept of having a technology stack that allows you to understand your reader in a deeper way, and segment, which is simply to say, this is a reader who's in this bucket, and this is a reader in this bucket. So I'm very happy of what we're doing right now. Like this podcast, we have launched into podcasts and virtual events and videos. So we certainly also understand, as you're exemplifying here, Jared, that video will be a big part of the future. And it's possible these days, look at your platform, to produce professional video and engage people. And so we're excited about the changes that are ongoing on our website.
yeah.
We've launched a program called OBJ Insider. People can Google it; they'll probably find out more. And also on the video side, I'd say we're quite excited by what we continue to work on.
Yeah. And how can people help you, Michael? Like, if you were to say to the community, what resources can the people help you?
This is kind of parochial, but you're asking the question. We've launched this OBJ Insider program, and in short, let me see if I can describe this in 30 seconds. So, if you go to obj.ca, as you know, we update content every day, typically 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 original pieces of content per day. And we've been doing that since 1999, by the way. Up
Yeah,
until recently, all of that has been free to access. And with OBJ Insider, we're saying, look, we're going to create some premium articles, some high value articles, and we're going to put those behind. People don't like this term, but I'll use it. We're going to put them behind a paywall, and you need to be a paid member, a subscriber, to access those. Again, I want to emphasize that about 75% of the content is still free. 25% will be behind the paywall.
right.
So we're building a membership program that doesn't only include digital; it includes some printed products, some mailings, so on and so forth. And we're asking people to pay $9 a month with a 12-month commitment. So whatever that is, I should know the number. It's like 116 or something.
Right.
So that, and in doing that, you're one of the things we're trying to do, Jared, is literally find a way to continue funding good local independent journalism.
Sure.
So those funds are being directed there, and we will continue to make improvements and investments as people become OBJ insiders. And by the way, it's only, what is it, 3 weeks into this, and we've got all sorts of uptake. So we're thrilled and appreciative and thankful for people signing up for the program.
Excellent, excellent. So hopefully this will continue offering great content, original content. Michael, what's next? Where do you, or we could talk about OBJ, would like to be in a year or two from now?
Well, this
forward-thinking hat on.
Yeah, this digital evolution is really my focus now. So, the evolution of the website, the membership program, the insider program, continuing. We're extremely digitally focused. We will continue to print things. We have our news magazines produced on a quarterly basis. We're still printing things like the Book of Lists, but we're really focused on modernizing our technology stack. We've got some great consultants from the States who have worked with a bunch of other companies. So I'm completely excited and jazzed about this concept of a continuing digital evolution of OBJ.
Right. Fabulous. I mean, you must get some really great wisdom when you interview, the new up and coming tech entrepreneurs and, the ex-Shopifys of the world.
Yeah. I mean, Ottawa really has some global leaders here, some global technology companies with remarkable leadership, and I'm not going to start mentioning them because I'll forget someone, but truly people on a global basis who have got a business niche locked down. And that's just an amazing, if you think about it, it's hard to do something in the city, let alone region, let alone province, let alone Canada, and then you're the global leader in this, or a national leader in this. It's truly inspiring to see people, scale companies to tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. It's remarkable. Some of the leaders we have, and they're very community-minded, thoughtful leaders often. So, I just love them for that too.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Michael, we're nearing the end of our segment today. Do you have any closing words of wisdom for the small businesses listening in?
I should have thought of this one in advance, but let me just kind of collect a couple things. Hire the best people. You kind of said something, and sometimes it comes off as being a colloquialism or just a saying that falls off our tongues. But build a good team, right? Build a really good team. Treat them well, try to challenge and inspire them, listen to them, try to have a very flat structure is what I've always done. So there's no hierarchy in terms of OBJ. Anyone can say anything, anyone can come up with an idea, anyone can critique what we're doing. We encourage it. So I just, at a time of societal change because of the pandemic, focus on your people for sure is the smart thing to do, and focus on your customers too, but focus on your people.
Well, especially these days, people are, for the most part, not staying at a company for 5 or 10 years. They're much more picky, and if they don't like something, they'll leave. So what is it that the glue that keeps them there? And like you said, it's that company culture, it's the people, respecting them.
It's I think of course you could probably read thousands of pages on it, but it's what you just said. Treat them well and respect them, right? Give them an opportunity for growth. Let them share ideas. Let them pursue some of their passions within the company. It's just start there, right? It doesn't have to be, you don't necessarily need a PhD in this. Be a good leader, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Michael. How can somebody get in contact with you, please?
Maybe I'll say the LinkedIn way. I was going to give out my email address, but all I do is answer emails sometimes, I feel. So I'm on LinkedIn, have lots of awesome connections on LinkedIn. So you can connect with me or connect with OBJ through LinkedIn.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Today, folks, I'd like to thank Michael Curran of Great River Media for joining us and sharing some great entrepreneur wisdom on Talk to the Fedora. We hope that this segment has helped you to grow your small business. So please subscribe to the eSAX YouTube channel and check out the hundreds of more videos we have on entrepreneurial content. Michael, thanks again for your time today.
That's great. It's awesome, Jared, to be with you today, and I appreciate what you're doing in the community and you having me on the show.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Okay, bye-bye.